Let's discuss the future of Kevin De Bruyne now. I think everyone's well aware that he's out of contract at Man City in the summer, and he's soon going to turn 34. He's yet to enter formal talks over an extension. It's understood. Guardiola has previously said that De Bruyne will be honest with himself when making a decision on his future, and has since revealed that that final decision will be made by Kevin himself, his agent, and the club. And Guardiola has sort of almost distanced himself from that. He's
Yeah.
focused on the team and finishing the season in the best possible position. Are you surprised at all, Stephen, that this the sort of speculation around De Bruyne's future's dragged on for this long, and do you think now at this stage it's far more likely that he's going to leave City than sign a contract extension?
I'm not really surprised. I think the turbulent nature of the season has sort of led to this moment. Like in another year, and when everything's a lot more stable, I presume De Bruyne is playing more regularly, and everything's. I think he's probably doing much better than he is this year. Even with injuries, because I think the team would be more set up to get the best out of him still. And I think we probably know by now what's going to happen. I think Guardiola's right to distance himself. I don't think it's anything to do with Guardiola. I do feel there's not a manager in world football that would say no to another season of Kevin De Bruyne. I know he's not his best, and the levels have dipped, but he's still Kevin De Bruyne. And if you want that bigger squad next season, which Guardiola said that they need because he's realised the squad's just too small for modern football standards, you take De Bruyne, innit? You just do. He's our captain, he's our leader, and even if he plays as a rotation player, and there's some hints that he's happy with the idea of that because he wants to be more ready for the World Cup, and he thinks the Premier League would get him more ready for that. It'd also be his 10th season at Manchester City, I think. I'm pretty certain he would be. He would be, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah, because he joined in 2015, didn't he?
yeah.
So it'd be his 10th season. It would be a perfect ending. Hopefully, City be much better than last year. I would fancy a chances to win the league next season. That's my early call. I think we'll turn it around as our captain, our club captain, fix the season in the way that Guardiola was hopes to fix, the end of his reign at City. I do think that I think De Bruyne will stay. I think they'll be tempted to give him another contract. I think De Bruyne will accept a sort of more rotational role where he plays. He starts once every 2 or 3 games, comes on every other game, and I think he'll play 30, 40 games, but they won't be, 50, 60 that he used to. I think that'll be the right decision because as much as I'm a big fan of the idea, of the next generation coming through, Kevin De Bruyne is Kevin De Bruyne. And I don't think you let go of a player that good unless you're 100%, 1000% certain that it's not there still, not there anymore, and that he doesn't want it. If he wants it and we see signs, and we did against Bournemouth, by the way, see signs that that guy can still cut it at the highest level, then you keep him. I think that's simple. And I don't know, maybe it doesn't really matter, but for me as a fan, I want him to do 10 years. I want the guy that, in my opinion, might just be the greatest to ever do it in the Premier League. And I really rate him that highly. I want him to do a decade at Manchester City. There's something beautiful about that. It doesn't matter, and his legacy's the same either way, but I would be disappointed if this was his final year at City because it's been underwhelming. And I do feel like De Bruyne needs to go out on a bigger high than that. And I think if we signed another year and he said this will be my last year at Man City, and we all knew it, and they could plan this big send off for him, we could move forward. I think that would be a much more beautiful ending for a true icon of the game, a once in a lifetime level player. I think he'll stay. I think he will do. I think there's. I don't think either side are ready to let go yet, be it him or City. Something in the water tells me that we've got another year of Kevin De Bruyne. I might be wrong there, but I think would regret it if we'd let him go now anyway.
Yeah, I think one thing that may complicate matters this summer is that De Bruyne's contract expires on June the 30th, and of course City are competing at the Club World Cup this summer. And I think the last 16 stage is around when, June the 30th time. So it's going to
1 week
be.
contract.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It might be it should if City want De Bruyne in their squad for that tournament, and should they progress beyond the group stage, which you'd expect, they're gonna have to come to some sort of agreement at least to.
I swear I read something about that, about like
Yeah,
FIFA are aware of that issue potentially, and there's still going to be some sort of compromise with contracts or something like that. I don't know. I can't. I think there's going to be a registration compromise or something
yeah,
like that. Where because there has to be. You can't like contracts end at a certain date for a reason because football wasn't going on. Like you can't have contracts ending mid-season. Like not mid-season. When the games are competitive. So yeah, I mean, it would be funny if be like Man City announced 2 week extension for Kevin De Bruyne. But stranger things have happened in football these days. So
yeah.
we'll
Well,
see.
there is FIFA announced that sort of the new changes to the summer transfer window. There seems to be two of them. There's like a week window. I think it's a 10-day window. I think June the 1st to June the 10th, where there's sort of an exceptional registration period for those teams in the Club World Cup, and then obviously back to normal. So
What's the logic for that? Is like why is City getting an extra week compared to other
well,
sides?
I think it's something to do with the Club World Cup. So I think for the Premier League, it's City and Chelsea have got sort of a period there where they can register new signings. In
You get first
preparation
dibs,
for that.
basically.
Well, I think I think it's for the Premier League team. So I'm not sure. I have to double check this now, but I think it is for all of them. But if from terms of City's sake and preparing for that tournament, do you think that will affect City's business at all in the summer? Will that encourage them maybe to get business done ahead of that tournament, or not at all, really?
Who knows, mate? Like
Yeah.
it's genuinely uncharted territory. This isn't it. No one knows how this is going to affect anything. I think it's going to be a bit of a mess logistically. I think it'll feel confusing. Um, I I think City are the way that we moved in January was so aggressive. Like I'd never seen a January like that for Man City, and I think Viana coming in and the very obvious need for change. I think City will get going as soon as they can do. I presume they'll look to start the signings quickly because we've been slow in the market in previous years, and I would not be surprised if we. I presume those players can then play in the Club World Cup because it makes sense for them. It'd be strange for them not to, but I think there'll be a couple of players that City want to sign. They'll probably want to be involved in that, or they might want a holiday. Like so, it's very tough. So I think City will be. I would guess the younger players that we sign would probably want to be involved because the momentum to be involved in. If this tournament takes off, this is the first ever. Like it could be this tournament could be damp squib, or it could be something that people love around the world, and the prize money indicates the FIFA are taking it very seriously. And I wouldn't be surprised if some young players who are on the list of Manchester City, I'm on about the ones who are 22, 23 at the start of their careers, waiting for that big move. If City are in for them, I think they'd want to be involved. I think they'd be like, yeah, of course I want to play in this tournament. That could be, uh, one of the biggest tournaments in world football in a few years. We could talk about in 20 years as a massive success with great prestige. I think it's fair to say the Club World Cup it's great for the teams involved, but no one else really cares about it previously. I don't even know what happens most years if City aren't involved because I'm just not paying attention, and that's not in an arrogant way. It's just because it's a very closed circuit competition. It happens mid-season, and unless it's your country's side competing, you're just not really going to notice it. So this could be a big moment in football. So I think City will try and get reinforcement for it because the prize money warrants it, and I think some of these players will want to be involved. So I'm expecting we might see a little bit of a flurry of action beforehand.